Today, I'm going to show you the top 20 best decks to use in Clash Royale for this season. In 20th place, we have this Lava Hound Balloon deck. It has a win percentage of 49.3%. Your main attack is obviously Lava Hound in the back and then a balloon to follow it up, as well as a potential baby dragon to speed up the push when it's evoed. And then on defense, you have the Evo Valk, which just takes out everything and stops entire pushes on its own. You have the Mega Minion and the Tombstone as well to help out. And then the Vines can be used on offense or on defense, and same with the Fireball. So this is a very, very well-rounded deck, and it makes sense why it's doing very well this season. If you have these cards leveled up, definitely give it a try. In 19th place, we have this Hog Executioner deck with a win percentage of 49.4%. I have seen this deck going around, and it is pretty crazy. You have the Hog obviously on attack to go in, get rid of some buildings, or even do damage to the tower. But a lot of the time, the special thing with this deck is throwing a rocket and then tornadoing everything into the tower and the rocket. So that is what does a lot of damage and gives a ton of value. Then on defense, you have the Evo Executioner and the Evo Valk, both amazing cards, will very much help you stop a ton of pushes. And then you have Goblins and Ice Spirit to cycle and be cheap. And then as well as that, you have the Log to clear out any small units. So this deck, it makes sense why it's doing really well this season, because it is very well rounded and not something you see that often, I would say, so opponents don't really know how to deal with it fully. But yeah, the special thing comes from the Tornado plus Rocket combo. That's what makes this so good. In 18th place, we have this Splash Yard deck with a win percentage of 50%. This deck is absolutely bossing the meta this season, and the reason why is basically because it's a pure defense deck. You have like an unbreakable defense similar to the Expo, where if the game's gonna drag on for 5 minutes, and if the game ends before that, it's because you've won. So you have the Ice Wizard, the Knight, and the Witch, all for defense, as well as the Goblin Hut. You have the Barb Barrel to take out any smaller units, and then you use all of that to counter push and then put the Graveyard down and poison potentially, and the game's over. It's absolutely broken this season. And the Vines as well, you can go Graveyard and then Vines, and basically they're just cooked. Anything they place in the back, you just poison it, Elixir Pump. This deck is so broken this season, and it makes sense why it's in the top 20. In 17th place is this Wall Breakers Valkyrie Cycle deck with a win percentage of 50.1%. This deck is absolutely insane. It is like the modern version of Bait that is really working right now against most matchups. You have the Fire Spirit and Ice Spirit for such a quick cycle, as well as the Berserker for cheap defense, and then the Dark Goblin, Valk, Wall Breakers. We've seen this already. It is absolutely broken in combination. And then the Goblin Barrel, obviously, to get pressure on their towers. It's just a really good deck, and I think it's had a lot of success because the Vines are so strong this season, so it really bails you out of a lot of situations. And so if you have these cards, you could try this deck out. It is absolutely amazing. In 16th place, you have this Piggy Cycle deck with a win percentage of 50.1%. The Evo Baby Dragon in combination with the Piggies going super fast is just so broken. You have the Lightning to take down any buildings or big units as they place near the tower. You have the Mighty Miner for good defense on tanks, and then you have the Skeletons and Electro Spear for cheap cycle and good defense, as well as the Log to take out any smaller units, and the Cannon as well to help on defense. So it's kind of like a defensive deck, and then you counter push with the Piggies, but it has been working and has a good win percentage this season, so it makes sense why it's in the top 20. In 15th place, we have this Firecracker Hog deck with a win percentage of 50.2%. Obviously, this deck has been around for a little while now, and it's good to see that it's still doing good in this meta. Your attack is obviously the Hog and then the Firecracker, and then the Earthquake to take out any buildings or smaller units in the area. And then you have the Skeletons and the Electro Spear for cheap defense. You have the Mighty Miner as well to take out tanks, and then the Barb Barrel for smaller units, and the Cannon to help out with win conditions. So overall, this deck is still very balanced, still very good, and it's good to see that it is working well against any sort of meta. In 14th place, you have this P.E.K.K.A. Ram Rider deck with a win percentage of 50.8%. You have a lot of good defense in this deck with the Berserker, with the P.E.K.K.A., with the minions. Then you have the Barb Barrel for swarm units, and then you have the Electro Spirit as well for cheap defense and cycle. You have the Vines to help out on offense or defense. They're extremely broken right now, as well as the Baby Dragon. So this is like an almost entirely defensive deck, and then you counter push with the Ram Rider behind the P.E.K.K.A. and with the Baby Dragon speeding everything up as well. Overall, it makes sense why this is doing well this season because of the Vines and the Baby Dragon effect. And so if you're comfortable using no building, then this is a very, very good deck for this current meta. In 13th place is this Golem Beatdown deck with a win percentage of 50.8%. Again, it makes sense why this deck is doing really well right now with the Vines and the Baby Dragon. But on top of that, the Goblin Machine. The Goblin Machine's been broken for so long. It's never getting a nerf apparently. I don't know what's going on there. But as well as the Evo Witch is making a bit of a comeback, which is interesting. A lot of people wrote this card off, but now in this meta, it's making a little bit of a comeback, which is pretty interesting. And yeah, I've been facing it quite a bit, and it is still doing really, really well. Then on defense, obviously you still have the minions, the mini P.E.K.K.A, and then the bar barrel for the cheap cleanup. But the main thing is obviously the golem in front of all of these cards and creating a huge beatdown push. So yeah, very solid deck, and it makes sense why it's in the top 20. In 12th place, you have the classic Musketeer Balloon Miner Cycle deck with a win percentage of 51.2%. This deck has been around for a while, and it is still doing very well this season. Obviously, the defense is very solid with the Ice Golem to kite, the Bomb Tower, the Bar Barrel to get rid of swarm units, the Snowball for pushing things away and slowing them down, and Skeletons for a cheap defense, and then the Musketeer to help support everything. But obviously, the main attraction is the Balloon with the Ice Golem or Miner to tank for it. Overall, this deck is extremely versatile. This deck has been good. It's great to see that it's still doing well, and obviously nerf proof, which is the best part, so this will be used in any meta. So this is a very, very strong deck. In 11th place, we have the X-Bow deck with a win percentage of 51.2%. Obviously, this deck has been around for a while, and it is still doing very, very good this season. For most people that got the free Evos, this is actually a great option because both of the Evos here were free just a few months ago. If you use this deck, basically every game is going to drag on to the 5-minute mark, but it is very, very good and well-rounded for defense. You have the Archers, you have the Knight, Electro Spirit and Skeletons to cycle, the Fireball to take out any Elixir Pumps or Barbs or any sort of thing like that, the Logged for cheap cleanup as well. Obviously, behind all of this is going to be the X-Bow with the Tesla paired up with it, or the Tesla used in defense. But yeah, everyone knows this deck, so it's no surprise that it is here. Obviously, I'm not the biggest fan of this deck. I think it's a very boring way to play, but it is in the top 20, and so it deserves to be mentioned. Into the top 10 is this Goblin Giant Prince broken deck with a win percentage of 51.7%. Where do you even start with this deck? It has so many broken cards. The Evo Goblin Giant and the Evo Furnace, probably two of the most broken evolutions in the game right now. The Prince that desperately needs a nerf is here, and it is absolutely broken this season, especially with the Rage. The Goblin Machine obviously has been broken. The Minions and Bar Barrel for cheap defense, as well as the Vines to help you on attack and on defense, and then the Rage to take out any smaller units and boost up your own units. So this deck is just busted, bro. I mean, I think that anyone who plays this game can definitely use this deck with absolutely no issue at all, because it is so easy to use and so easy to counter push and just build up pushes that the opponent physically cannot defend no matter what they do. So yeah, this deck is obviously very good this season, but I would watch out for a potential nerf in the next season for a lot of these cards. In 9th place, we have the classic Hog 2.6 deck with a win percentage of 51.8%. The most well-rounded defensive deck in the entire game, probably, because you can defend basically any push. You have the Ice Golem to kite into the other lane. You have the Musketeer doing a lot of damage. You have the Skeletons and the Ice Spirit to distract and cheap cycle. And then you have the Cannon to stop any win condition, as well as the Log for cheap cleanup, and then the Fireball for bigger units, and then obviously the Hog to go in and attack on the counter push. This deck has been around for so long. It's still doing really well in this meta because I feel like it's a timeless deck. No matter what era it is, no matter what meta it is, this deck will always be working because it's simply nerf proof, never gets nerfed, never has balancing issues, and is so well rounded in basically any scenario and against any matchup. But it does take a lot of skill to use. This deck cannot just be used by anyone. You have to know what you're doing on defense and when to go in with your hogs, as well as when to start fireball cycling. So overall, it makes sense why this deck is in the top 10 this season, but it does take a lot of skill and patience to use. In 8th place is this Mortar Skeleton Barrel deck with a win percentage of 52%. This deck basically has everything you need. It has the Ice Wizard on defense to slow everything down. Ice Wizard is making a bit of a comeback this season, I think. A lot of the time it's gone under the radar for the last little while, but this season it's been used a lot. It's good to see that the Ice Wizard is back. You have the Minions, the Skeleton King, and the Guards on defense, and that should help stop basically any push in the game. And then on attack, you have the Mortar, the Skeleton Barrel to pressure, and then the Lightning to take out any buildings or big troops that they place for the Mortar, and then Arrows to take out any small swarm units. It's a very well-rounded deck, and I can see why it's doing really, really good this season. And it looks like a very nerf-proof and balanced deck because a lot of these cards, I don't really see them getting nerfs, and so it will be good in the seasons going forward. But yeah, there's a lot of bait in this deck as well with the Guards, with the Skeleton Barrel, and with the Skeleton King ability. So it's basically a Mortar and bait deck in one, and is a very good option for this season. In 7th place is this P.E.K.K.A Bridge Spam deck with a win percentage of 52.6%. You have the Dark Prince and the Mother Witch for good defense, and the Mother Witch is a very interesting card because against swarm units, or if they're using bait decks, this is just gonna cook. You have the Baby Dragon and the Battle Ram to speed everything up. Dude, the Battle Ram is kind of underrated. It's actually really, really fun fun to use and very effective. I used to think that it's kind of a mid card, but honestly, I've been using it a bit recently. It is very, very strong. And then the vines to stop everything and the arrows for swarm units. I mean, this deck looks absolutely insane. I'm probably gonna try it out myself. It just looks fully broken, bro. Especially with the Evo Battle Ram and the Evo Baby Dragon together. It's gonna get to the tower so fast, it's just ridiculous. And then with the P.E.K.K.A on defense, you're always gonna be good. But yeah, it makes sense why this deck is doing really well this season. And honestly, it does seem a little bit balanced. It's only the vines that I expect to get a nerf here. Overall, a very, very solid deck for this season, and it makes sense why it is in the top 10. In 6th place is this Boss Bandit Ram Rider deck with a win percentage of 52.9%. I have seen this deck going around, and it does look very, very broken. The Executioner, Berserker, and Guards are very solid defense units, with the Berserker and Guards being cheap. You have the vines to stop everything. You have the Bar Barrel for cheap, smaller units, and the Evo Snowball to bail you out of every situation. I think the Evo Snowball is still one of the most annoying Evos in the game and one of the best in the game because it completely changes a scenario. They might have a big push going on and you spend 2 elixir to delay that for like 5-10 seconds almost, rolling it back across the river. It's just crazy. And then obviously the Boss Bandit is crazy. Paired in combination with the Ram Rider, this is an insane deck, and I see why it's doing really well this season. The Evo Executioner has been seen now in a few decks and it's doing a very good job this season. So yeah, overall a very solid deck, a very broken deck, and I can definitely see why this would be really fun to play. In 5th position, starting our top 5, is this Piggies Recruit Split Lane Madness deck with a win percentage of 53%. This deck actually makes me so mad when I'm playing because it is just so broken and so annoying to deal with. They're going with the Recruits, which automatically split, the Piggies, which split, the Zappies, which split, and then the Flying Machine down the middle. And if you don't have a Fireball, the Flying Machine is so hard to kill with everything else around it now. And then the Evo Cage to take out any win conditions and then force out more Elixir. Arrows and Bar Barrel to take out those small units. And then the Fireball to do a lot of damage to the bigger units. This deck is so balanced. I lose to this deck almost every time I play it. It is so broken. This deck has been around for a little bit. It seems to be a bit balanced and nerf proof. So yeah, this is a very good option if you are looking for a very easy deck to play. But yeah, it makes sense why this is in the top 5. In 4th place is this Goblin Giant Goblin Machine deck with a win percentage of 53.3%. This deck is obviously just a bunch of broken cards together, and it makes sense why it's doing so well this season. Obviously the Evo Goblin Giant, even after the nerf, is still broken. The Goblin Machine has been broken. The Vines is very good, very, very strong, and probably gonna get a nerf in the next season. The Bar Barrel and the Rage are used to take out the smaller units. The Mini P.E.K.K.A helps a lot on defense, take out units quickly. And then the Evo Witch is making a great comeback this season and is very strong again. Then you have the Minions to help support any push going forward or help defend. Overall, not much to this deck. Build up a good push with the Goblin Giant, Goblin Machine, and the Witch, and you've basically won the game with using the Rage. A very easy deck to use if you guys want to use this. But yeah, expect some of these cards to get more nerfs next season. In 3rd place and starting the top 3 is this Golem Beatdown deck with a win percentage of 53.5%. It is like a combination of the last few decks that we have seen, with the Goblin Machine being broken, the Evo Baby Dragon to speed up your big push, but this time you have the Guards on defense, the Vines to stop everything, the Bar Barrel to take out the smaller units, the Mini P.E.K.K.A for great defense as well, doing a lot of damage to bigger units. And so yeah, not much to say because there are a lot of cards here from the previous decks that I've shown, but I feel like coming up against this deck, if used correctly, is going to be an absolute nightmare. I think I've come up against it once and it was just horrible because each card is so strong, and then the Baby Dragon just makes them faster going to the tower. It's so annoying. But yeah, a very good and solid deck, and it makes sense why it's in the top 3. In 2nd place is this Splash Yard variation with a win percentage of 53.6%. It is the same deck from earlier in the video, but instead of the Knight, we have the Valkyrie. This deck is absolutely crazy to play against because of that lockdown defense. Nothing can get through the Ice Wizard, Goblin Hut, Witch combination. It's just ridiculous. And then on top of that, if they do, you have the Vines to help stop it and the Bar Barrel to clean up. And then on that counter push, you go with the Graveyard, the Poison, and the game is over. And then you have the Valkyrie as your mini tank in this version to help with the swarms. So yeah, this deck is absolutely broken, and a lot of people have been complaining about this, that it needs a nerf. So I don't know, we'll see, I guess, but it is a very, very strong deck. In 1st place is this deck right here, the Golem Beatdown deck, but instead of the Witch, it's a Furnace with a win percentage that you won't believe. 58.6%. This deck is clearly breaking the game right now. Obviously, there's not much to go over because this is the same deck from position 3, but instead of the Witch, it's a Furnace. Yeah, overall, obviously, it looks extremely broken. I'm probably gonna try it after this video just to see if it's actually that good. But according to the stats, this is actually the best deck in all of Clash Royale for this season. I can't imagine getting a push with a Golem, a Goblin Machine, and then the Baby Dragon and Furnace. That is going to break the entire game. But yeah, it completely makes sense why this deck is in first place. But yeah, guys, those are the top decks for this season so far. The rankings were all based from the stats and the win percentages from ranked this season. But yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, subscribe, comment, become a channel member. I would greatly appreciate that. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video.